Tonight on Perspective, a major diplomatic development. Hamas has conditionally accepted parts of Donald Trump's Gaza plan, a move that's drawing mixed but cautious reactions worldwide. From Washington to Doha and Islamabad, leaders are calling it a step towards ending nearly 2 years of war in Gaza. But as optimism grows, serious questions remain. Can Israel be trusted completely, and will Hamas truly disarm? Let's break down, of course, diplomatically, globally and politically, how this is going to shape up things as we go along. I have with me His Excellency Dr. Zuhair Zaid, who is Palestinian Ambassador to Pakistan. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. We also have with us Dr. Kamran Bokhari, who is Senior Director, New Lines Institute, Professor, Georgetown University in America, and Dr. Sabir Abu Maryam, who's a Palestinian journalist, joining us today. Your Excellency, as far as this development is concerned, how do you view Hamas' response to, of course, this plan of the US presidents, and, of course, that it's a representation of the unified Palestinian resistance? What does it mean for broader diplomatic struggle of the Palestinians?
First of all, thank you for having me. It's very important to stop this war. Ceasefire is the main object for us as a Palestinian. We want to stop the genocide. We want to stop the suffering of our people. We want to stop the starvation, the famine that the Palestinians had suffered for a long, long time.
Right.
Palestinians, especially in Gaza, facing death in several ways. So this is a very good opportunity to stop the war. There is many other things that we should work on, but the first matter is to stop the war, to lead for a process to see donation and food and the needs of our people in Gaza going on to them directly.
But of course, this history Hamas does, and Israel particularly, when we look at the way that they have floated this plan initially, as far as, the 20 points are concerned by the US president, Israel has a history of violating agreements. Unfortunately, the assurances or guarantees that the Palestinians need from international actors to ensure that Israel does not do so, and that this process of peace, like you said, that has cost the Palestinians so much, like you said, is not derailed. What do you have those guarantees? Are those guarantees in place?
First of all, let us explain something. Hamas is a faction. Hamas is an organization. Hamas is not representing the Palestinian people. And many of the Palestinian people, especially PLO, which is the sole representative for the Palestinian people, the Palestinian Authority do not accept what Hamas did in general, and the results. Now, the responsibility of those representatives should be taken into consideration. It's very important to know that this is an initiative. The first step should be to stop the war. After that, there is the initiative of a two-state solution, which came through the conference in New York. There is the support of the Arab and Muslim countries. There is the leaders of some countries whom met with Donald Trump.
Right.
So those can be the states that could influence the Americans and could be the counterweight for the supporter for Israel.
So you're saying that those that their stance, those that support Palestinians, can be guarantors or can be more effective as guarantors.
And this should lead to the legality of the rights of the Palestinians, which is should be abided, which should be agreed, which should be accepted. This is very important that to know that the international community, the United Nations, ICC, the International Court for Justice, also ICJ, many decisions had been taken. Those should be applied. Those should be accepted. After stopping the war, the Palestinian Authority, the legal authorities for the Palestinians should also be applied and should work and cover Gaza Strip. Gaza is an integral part of our homeland as a Palestinians, and the authority of our government should be covered also this area, and it should be very clear. We should have, this is our dream, this is our wish, this is what we are working for. We should have our own state. Our own state should be democratic. It should also have its own security. We don't want to see any organization having its own militia.
Ambassador, there's also, you know, I will move on to, like you said, you know, the fact that there should not be, you don't want other states having their militia and all that you've just spoken about. But as far as Israel is concerned, the fact that, you know, even when we've seen Hamas' positive response earlier on, Israel continued its bombardment. Do you think that, you know, mediators like you mentioned, even if we count the US, Qatar, Egypt, they can ensure compliance from the Israel, like you said, that you are expecting them to play that role of guarantors?
This is the choice for all the international community. You can see all the world, the Arab world, the Muslim world, Europe, the whole world will come this initiative and accept the principles for it. So it's the time now to take some practical steps. If the Israelis will not be abide, they should impose sanctions on Israel to accept. And believe me, if the Americans want Israel to abide, they will do. When the Americans have the will to do so, this will happen. And I'm sure our brothers, if we look to Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Indonesia, the most important countries in the Arab and Muslim world, those states have their weight, have their influence. The Americans have interest with them, so they can't ignore their position, and I think those states give us the support and can guarantee going to a real peace process and to reach at the end the two-state solution and the Palestinians to have their rights.
Do you think, Ambassador, of course, there is that importance, like you said, of our Muslim brothers, and you know, as far as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is concerned, Qatar is concerned, Egypt is concerned. But of course, like you also said, the one country that seems to matter in all of this is US. And of course, this plan has been floated by the US president. Do you think that, you know, if they do, in case Israel does violate this agreement, the ceasefire, or delays implementation, there are diplomatic or otherwise mechanisms that can hold them accountable? Because we've seen the role of the UN, you know, the role of our humanitarian organizations, the role of organizations like the United Nations has not been effective in trying to you know, derail what has happened in Gaza till now.
First of all, let us let us hope that the Americans really they want to stop the war.
Okay.
This is what we are hearing from the president himself. This is what we are hearing from all the leaders of the Americans. But also we should take into consideration that the Americans have their own interest.
Right.
And their own interests sometimes contradict the interest of the Israelis.
Right.
And to be also very clear, you can see that the Americans had been felt that they are isolated. Now, with the last recognition of those very important Western state that they recognize the Palestinian state, the Americans in the Security Council isolated. They are alone now, and all they are supporting the two-state solution. Look also what's going on in the American society. Inside the Republican Party, there is part whom start to influence, whom want to see a great America, asking to look to the interest of the American and not to keep their support with Israel. The support for the Israelis had decreased. Now our situation inside America is strong. Look what's going on in Europe, in Italy, in Spain, in all those countries.
Pressure. You're saying that the public pressure has been so immense.
Yes, and so important. And really it influenced the governments, and they make some change in their policies. We are looking forward to see more change, especially from the governments, to see real steps to put a pressure on Israel. It's the start. You can see that there is boycott for instance, in the cultural level, sport level. You can see that they are preventing the Israelis to move through their ports, especially the military equipment. This is also do not allow them to fly over their countries with those.
Right.
Some of the companies had been freezed agreements with the Israeli side. This is steps that can really be increased, and at the end can influence the Israel. Israel, without this support, they can't go on and continue their aggression.
As far as Hamas is concerned, when we look at the position that they've taken, they've been responsible on, their stance, for example, on hostages. And as far as peace is concerned, do you think that challenges the Western narrative that's often portrayed them as obstructionist, for example? Or, how should this shift be reflected, in your opinion, in diplomatic circles?
It's very important to realize that this step came late.
Okay.
Hamas can took such a step before, and their position will be better than today. Despite that, it's good that at the end they will take the allegations from the hands of the Israelis and the whole Western country, whom all the time what interests them is the Israeli hostages. But no one of them looked to the Palestinian hostages. We have 3,000 Palestinians called administrative detainees.
Okay.
And they are in prison without judgment, without anything. There is children, more than 500 children. There is also women in the prisons, and all of them without any sort of judgment. So those not hostages, they are hostages. And see, the whole Palestinians are hostages. If this in the West Bank, if this in Jerusalem, if this in Gaza Strip, they in front of each village they put a gate, and they close on all the Palestinians. All the Palestinians now in every place, they are living like in ghettos, like in a small isolated area. This is why the Israeli human rights organizations declared that the Israeli apartheid had been deepened, became more aggressive against the Palestinian, and this is what's happened there in
But
Palestine.
in terms, so in this sense, when you see how are the Palestinians now reacting to this initiative as far as Hamas is concerned for peace, international recognition that it's receiving, is there, in your opinion, a renewed, if you look at what's happening there, a renewed sense of hope that things will go on, that this will be successful, that there will be lasting peace for the Palestinians?
As a Palestinians, our hope, our vision is very clear.
Okay.
We want to be like all peoples on this earth. We want to be free. We want to have our own state, and we accept the compromise.
Right.
Now, if the Israelis will continue in their way, it's the responsibility of the international community. As we mentioned before, they should increase their pressure on Israel. If not, we will reach the solution that happened in South Africa. It means to have one state solution. Okay. From our side, as the Palestinians, we are ready for this. But the issue, the racist Israelis whom they want a Jewish state for them, that they do not want us to be, but we are ready to accept one state. And this will happen, but this also will lead to more suffer for both of us, the Palestinians and the Israelis, until reaching such a solution at the end. We are the majority now inside Palestine. Gaza Strip, with the West Bank, with Jerusalem, with our brothers inside Israel, we are more than the Israelis in reality.
Right. Thank you so much. On that note, Ambassador, thank you for joining us today. And one hopes that there will be lasting peace.
Inshallah.
And one hopes that this will go through and that it will be a time for peace in the region that has suffered so much.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Thank you very much.
We have with us Dr. Kamran Bokhari, who's Senior Director at New Lines Institute, Georgetown University from America, joining us now. Dr. Kamran, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Dr. Kamran, we have had the Palestinian ambassador with us, and of course there's hope, renewed sense of hope that this will go forward as planned and that there will be lasting peace in Palestine. How do you look at this overall in terms of the acceptance that has come in from Hamas side and that the chances of this not being derailed?
Look, Mahrukh, I think that given the weight of the President of the United States and given the fact that for the first time ever, a group of Arab and Muslim countries are going to provide for security in Gaza post cessation of hostilities, I think there's a good chance that this will go through. But what does that really mean? Well, that means that there's a lot of work out there that needs to be done. So you bring this fighting to an end, and then you don't want the Israeli Defense Forces occupying the Gaza Strip. Right. And the United States is not putting any force. Instead, it's saying there's going to be an international stabilization force made up of Arab Muslim countries, which includes Pakistan, Egypt, Turkey, Saudi, and others, Indonesia. The composition we're not clear about. So they will have a lot of work to do. They will have to provide for security. They have to disarm Hamas. What does that mean? How long will that take? On top of that, we know Hamas cannot be part of a future dispensation, but it exists as a social movement. So this is a huge issue for this international stabilization force. And then working with the IDF, because the IDF is going to control the borders and some parts of the Strip. And then you have to work with the Palestinians to raise a Palestinian constabulary that will take over for policing services, in the not too distant future. So what I'm trying to say here is peace is a nice word, but the reality is there's a lot of work to be done and a lot of things can go wrong.
Dr. Kamran, yes, and the reactions that have come in have also been cautious to an extent. There's hope, but there's also caution, like you said, and of course a lot of work that needs to be done. But that said, the kind of acceptance that has come from Hamas is in a sense unexpected, and of course positively unexpected. But how do you think that the light that this portrays them in? On an international level, when they've accepted it and that they want to move forward, when there was clearly, some skepticism that would happen?
Well, look, I mean, their 40-year history as a terrorist organization doesn't just simply go away with an acceptance of a peace deal. Mind you, they are accepting this because they're militarily battered. They're under immense pressure militarily. They're under immense pressure from the people of Gaza, who are basically saying, what did we do to deserve this? They're under intense pressure from the Arab Muslim states, those who have been sort of working with them, like Turkey and Qatar, to cut it off. So this was actually expected. I've been sort of predicting this for quite some time now in my writings, that this can't go on forever. And so this had to come to an end. The question was always when.
Right. But even, despite Hamas openness, Israel continues and has continued to carry out, of course, these deadly attacks. What does that say about the chances of this not going through, the chances that, this has to be looked at with some caution still?
Absolutely. Like I was saying earlier, we're one day at a time. This is delicate, this is fragile. I mean, that we've come this far. We're approaching the second anniversary of the October 7 attacks that triggered this war. And so it's a long time in the making, but we're not there yet. We're not out of the woods. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. How do you sort of have Hamas surrender its weapons and step down from controlling the Strip, hand power over to something else, which is the International Stabilization Force and the Board of Peace that is being put together. Both these entities, the ISF and the Board of Peace, are themselves need to be constituted. In the meantime, Israel will continue its operations until it can hand, if you will, security control to the ISF, and that we don't know when that's going to happen. So yes, this is very fragile. This is a lot of things can go wrong.
And the fact that the US president, of course, this is his plan, and the fact that the US, their stance on this now, as far as this peace plan is concerned, do you think that that itself is going to be a deterrent to, this not falling through? Because of course, we've for a while been talking about the immense public pressure, we've been talking about the rallies, we've been talking about the recognitions that have happened, but for that one country that would make the difference. And do you think that that difference is finally now there, and that this plan is that difference?
I do think that this is out of the box thinking. I do think that the President of the United States and his office carries a lot of weight. But this is a difficult balancing act, even for POTUS himself. And he has to balance between multiple imperatives, the American imperatives with those of Israel, with those of Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Turkey, Pakistan, all those who sort of said, yes, we're going to be a part of this. And so this is a delicate balance. We can already see, the sort of divergent statements coming from within Israel, from within Pakistan. The prime minister and the foreign minister have issued statements trying to sort of say, hey, we're not, what was announced, we didn't fully sign on to it, their version and our version, there's still some gaps. So this is the engineering part of the whole deal. I mean, it's natural in many ways, it is expected. But it is something that, yes, the President of the United States carries weight, but it's not a guarantee.
But Dr. Kamran, the latest statement from, I'm going to interject, the latest statement from the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif, is that, gratitude is due to President Trump as well as to the leaderships of Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Turkey, Jordan, Egypt and Indonesia, who met with President Trump on the sidelines of UNGA 80. and for the resolution of the Palestinian issue. And the statement issued by Hamas creates a window for a ceasefire and ensuring peace that we must not allow to close again. Inshallah, Pakistan will continue to work with all its partners and brotherly nations to everlasting peace in Palestine. So there was initially caution. And of course, the statements that were made by the Deputy PM and the Prime Minister of the fact that, this wasn't exactly what the 20 peace plan that was shared with us initially. Now there is this renewed sense of hope that this will go through. Also from the UN, if you look at what Antonio Guterres has said, if you look at multiple statements at this time. So, like the Palestinian ambassador said, do you think that it is now really just at this time, just this overwhelming sense of relief that everybody wants this bloodshed to stop? And then, like you said, we'll have to see how it goes through on both sides, Israel and Hamas.
Of course. Look, I look at all these statements, and you have to understand that all parties have to manage their domestic political constituencies. And so this is the prime minister trying to do that while balancing. So if you say something to allay the concerns of people at home, your voters, your citizens, the Pakistanis, then you have to balance that with another statement that, don't take my words the wrong way, is the message coming out of Islamabad. And that the audience of that is the White House and other Arab states, because everybody's looking at each other and saying, are you still on board? Because this is so new. This is so out of the box. You have to understand, never in the history, modern history, have we seen an Arab Muslim force put together to do stabilization efforts in a third country, let alone the Palestinian territories. This is in keeping with what the President of the United States wants in terms of the new American geostrategy, is that regional stakeholders take the lead and the United States will be playing a secondary role, as opposed to the other way around that had been the case since World War II. So I think this is all new. We have to be very cautious and not get ahead of ourselves.
There's also a lot that's being said about the Nobel Peace Prize for the President of the US, and the fact that, of course, that is just, I believe, round the corner as far as the nomination is concerned. Do you think that that is also going to act as perhaps an accelerator in trying to ensure that this goes through on the part of the US, for example?
I think the president had made it clear that he wants to receive that prize. He's been working hard, not just on the Middle Eastern front, but also with Russia and Ukraine, albeit with far less success. I mean, he's made it clear that he wants that. So this is something that is informing his actions. But to what extent, I don't think that we should overplay that. I think there are security imperatives. The United States wants to retrench. That's far more important to the president than, of course, he'd love to have a Nobel Peace Prize, don't get me wrong. But what's at stake is American national security and the new strategy. The United States is retrenching from its role that's been in play for 80 years. It can't do that if you have these wars going on. This is the reason why the United States came down hard on India when it attacked Pakistan back in May, that, hey, we do not want another conflict. We already have plenty. And so this is a new world in which the United States is pursuing a new geostrategy. And I think that's what's driving, because ultimately individuals and parties and ideologies and short-term gains matter only so much. What matters, what is the driver, the fundamental driver, is national security interests of every country.
Do you see overall, in terms of the reactions that are coming in, as far as the Palestinians themselves are concerned, do you think that overall, how it's being taken, is there a renewed sense of hope, relief, and perhaps, some optimism that this will go through?
I do think that, but I think that because they've suffered so much, the people of Gaza, the Palestinians there, and of course not to the extent of the suffering of the Gazans, but also the West Bank, the Palestinians there. So yes, this is something positive. But again, if, from their point of view, it could be, as too good to be true. So they are likely also taking this one day at a time. They're optimistic. There is a sense of relief, but I think that they are also, because they're on the front line of this, they're on the receiving end of everything, and so they have to be cautious as well. And then you have to ask, which Palestinian are you talking about? Are you talking about the people of Gaza? And then within them, there are different viewpoints, different factions. We already know that different clans are taking advantage of the vacuum created with the weakening and degradation of Hamas's military capabilities, and they formed the militias. So not all Palestinians are on the same page. I mean, this has been sort of the chronic problem. Why we have this conflict is because of the intra-Palestinian divides.
So even like you said, there's likely a mixed reaction at this time, and it depends where and who you're asking. But Dr. Kamran, I want to take you back to what you said initially. You mentioned that even if this goes through, and one hopes that it does, that there is a lot of work to be done. As far as the reconstruction, as far as the rebuilding also, in terms of stabilization, all of that, could you tell us a little bit what all, in your estimation, it would entail? And of course, the fact that it will take a lot of time also.
So look, we need to understand that there's not going to be a Palestinian sovereign state anytime soon. So if that is sort of the yardstick, then we have to sort of modify that. What we have to be looking at is over the next decade, because this is at least a decade-long project. You're going to go from, okay, Hamas has been ruling this area for 18 years. You need to dismantle that. How long does that take? Disarmament, demobilization, reintegration. So that's DDR, that's a process. Then what do you do with Hamas if you're not going to allow them to participate, which is the case with this deal, that they can't be part of the next government or the next authority, next dispensation, whatever you want to call it. Then what is their status socially? This movement was literally sort of born in Gaza in 1946 as the Palestinian Muslim Brotherhood. In 87, it formed, it became Hamas. And so this is a long trajectory. You can't sort of just get rid of that. So that's going to take a long time. Then you have, the immediate, once you have security, there's another problem, the ISF, its chain of command. When you have coalition of countries, Arab and Muslim, what's going to be the chain of command? Who's going to be leading that effort? How many troops is each country going to contribute? Who will they report to? What will its relationship be with the Board of Peace? And then once you have that settled, what will their relationship be with the IDF? Then you also have side by side the immediate humanitarian effort. Who will be leading that charge? Then there's reconstruction, recovery, and rebuilding, not just physical rebuilding of Gaza, but governance structures. The president has said that's the job of the World Bank, or at least he's sort of alluded to that. Then they have to play a role. So this is a long journey, and I think that it's going to be very, very, if you will, difficult. It's going to be excruciatingly long, and it will require a lot of patience. And look, this is a human endeavor, and a lot of things can go wrong because when you have so many moving parts.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Kamran Bokhari. Thank you for your very valuable outlook on, of course, what the peace plan means and of course, what will have to follow to see it through completely. We'll be taking a short break, after which we'll come back and we'll be joined by Dr. Sabir Abu Maryam to discuss the plan and what it envisages into the future. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We have with us Dr. Sabir Abu Maryam, of course, Secretary General, Palestinian journalist also. Thank you so much for being with us. Dr. Sabir, we've been talking about this plan and of course the fact that, there is cautiousness while there is also a renewed sense of hope with regard to this plan and what it envisages, and the fact that of course a lot of work will have to be done to ensure that it follows through. What is your opinion on where we are at this time in terms of cautious optimism? How do you look at it, firstly?
Thank you so much. First of all, the Trump's plans regarding the peace in Gaza Strip, in the beginning, it has many objections, many confusions. But now, after Hamas proposals on the Trump's peace plan, many things has been cleared that Hamas has accurated, made the implementation of Trump's peace plan conditional. That is the main fact on the proposal which was initiated by the American President Donald Trump. Now the ball again in the court of American President and Netanyahu, because the Palestinian factors, the Palestinian resistance almost, they all have agreed that the complete withdrawal from the Gaza Strip as Israeli occupation forces. So let's see what will happen tomorrow till 6 p.m. because the withdrawal time has been given in the Palestinian resistance proposal is 6 p.m. Sunday, yani 5th of October. So if Netanyahu will consider the Trump recommendations and the proposals by the proposal and amendments by the Palestinian resistance and withdrawal the Israeli occupation forces from Gaza. So I think and I believe it would be a great breakthrough in the 2 years war history. So let's see what will happen tomorrow till 6 p.m.
In terms of the reaction that is coming forth, do you think there's just at this time, like you said, till 6 p.m. tomorrow, we'll know more, we'll see more of what's happening. But at this time, there's just a lot of optimism also, and then also relief, because I think for the Palestinian ambassador was here, and he also said that everybody just wants the genocide to stop, the killings to stop at this time, and of course that itself is something that is giving people optimism, and of course as far as proceeding from this cautiously, how do you think the reaction is, and where is it coming from more? Of course the countries that are supporting it, and also as far as the US role is concerned, how are the Palestinians viewing it?
Yes, I spoke with many Palestinian brothers since morning till now, and also some politicians, some resistance leaders, and everyone has consensus that after the proposal by the Palestinian resistance, which has amendments in the Trump's 20 points plan, yes, everyone, including me and you, and I think all over the world, every human wants to stop the genocide in Gaza Strip. So this plan, before the proposal of Palestinian, as I mentioned earlier, before the proposal by the Palestinian resistance, the Trump's plan has many confusions. But now it is clear everyone is going on to stop the genocide, because Hamas has demanded not only temporary ceasefire, but permanent ceasefire. It means stop the genocide. And also the Palestinian has demanded in the proposal that withdrawal of Israeli occupation forces. It means no more bombing. It means no more killing of innocent people of Gaza. So I think the consensus has been made by all factors, including Palestinian factors, including Arab and Islamic factors, and also the 8 countries included Pakistan, which was the initiators, which was the one of the initiator of the peace plan as Pakistan. So we all are demanding end the genocide withdrawal of the Israeli occupation forces. So let's see how it will be implemented, because there are still now many confusions, many ambiguities, because the Netanyahu is a, Netanyahu has been declared by the ICJ as a war criminal. So these kind of war criminal people, they cannot listen. They do not listen anyone. So let's see if Trump will successful or
when we look at the plan overall, of course there's optimism, of course we all want the genocide like you said, but there are certain things that sort of stand out when we look at, for example, vague withdrawal clauses within within the 20-point agenda. There's also weak enforcement mechanisms, things like that. Of course, Israeli domestic politics also. Do you think those are some of those hitches, or some of those points that some of those issues within Israel, for example, that can halt this? How do you look at those? How do you look at these that could potentially become problems? And one hopes that they don't, but how do you look at that?
Once we talk about the domestic politics of occupied Palestine, or for Israel, the illegitimate regime, yes, there are many problems. They have many conflicts between each other. Many people, many political leaders, they are demanding from very first day. They are demanding the release of the hostages, and they are demanding the ceasefire. They are demanding to stop the bombing and killing in Gaza Strip. Also, many Israeli and Jewish people, those are anti-Zionist, they are also demanding to end the starvation in Gaza Strip, which has started by the Netanyahu. This is the problem, and we are witnessing that thousands of people on daily basis, they are coming on the streets and they are taking protest against the Netanyahu. But unfortunately, the
which goes back to the issue of deep mistrust, which there is still, which exists, of course, and the suffering that we've seen. And even before we were talking to other experts, and of course, they've suffered so much that that accepting that such a plan can work will also take time, right?
Yes, of course, this plan will take time, because as I mentioned earlier, that the ball is in the court of Trump. How Trump will respond, because Trump has made one plan and 20 points, which has many confusions, problems, issues, and even in the 20 points, Trump's declared Hamas as a terrorist organization and many things, many more. Even there is no point mentioned about the Palestinian refugees, how they will come back, because the main issue of Palestine and the Palestinian people is the return of Palestinian people to Palestine. There is no point in the 20 points. So after the amendments,
vagueness still.
There
is a lot of vagueness still when we look at, for example, like you said, the vague withdrawal clauses, exactly what I was clue. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for your very valuable input. Dr. Sabir, thank you for joining us. From now on, of course, the world is cautiously hopeful, but there are, of course, those issues that remain still unattended. For example, vague withdrawal clauses, weak enforcement mechanisms, of course, Israel's domestic politics that could potentially block peace. There is risk of renewed violence. There are aid issues. There are governance disputes. So there are multiple issues still. And like earlier on said, even if this does go forward, there is a lot of work to be done. But that said, this is a huge step forward for the sufferings of those that have continued for nearly 2 years now, the women, the children, the brutality that we have seen, and one hopes that that will end. The world hopes that that will end. The Islamic countries hope that that will end, and of course, Pakistan hopes for peace for Palestine. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.